Think about the last time you traveled abroad. You know, you step off the plane, you turn off airplane mode, and almost
Instantly, your phone just grabs a signal.
right, it connects to a local network like magic.
Sure.
Or think about the last time you tried to log into your bank and you received that two-factor authentication text message.
The standard 6-digit code.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How does that specific data actually find you, precisely you, across the globe in a matter of seconds?
I mean, it feels totally seamless. You just expect it to work invisibly in the background, you know? But beneath that seamless experience is this massive, incredibly complex, and surprisingly fragile web of infrastructure.
And that invisible web is our focus today. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring a topic known as Signaling System 7, or SS7.
It's a fascinating one.
It really is. We're looking at a huge stack of sources we brought in for this. We've got technical telecom articles, protocol definitions, network architecture diagrams, and some genuinely alarming cybersecurity reports.
Oh yeah, the security side is wild.
Totally. So our mission today is to demystify this hidden global nervous system. We want to explore the decades-old security loopholes that are built into this infrastructure.
Loopholes that are still actively running our modern smartphones right now, by the way.
Which is just crazy. So, okay, let's unpack this, because to understand the shiny device in your pocket right now, we actually have to look way back at the 1970s.
Yeah, to really grasp the vulnerabilities we face today, we have to examine the chaotic environment SS7 was engineered to replace.
Right.
Because before SS7 became the global standard, the telecom world relied on this older system called Signaling System 5.
System 5, okay.
Yeah, and the defining characteristic of System 5 was something called in-band signaling.
In-band signaling, meaning the control signals were literally inside the same exact frequency band as the human voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the older days of telecommunications, the voice channel, the actual copper line you spoke,
right,
and the control signals, which were these auditory tones that commanded the network switches to route the call, they shared the exact same physical space.
Wait, so you were essentially sitting in the network control room while making a phone call?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Callers would actually occasionally hear those audible routing clicks and beeps while they were on the line.
So the old system was, it was basically like traffic cops driving in the exact same lanes as the regular cars.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, you're tying up the actual road just to direct traffic, even if the person on the other end doesn't pick up. And worse, it let early hackers, they were called freaks with a PH.
Oh yeah. The freaks.
Right. It let them use simple tone generators, like the really famous blue box, to hijack those cops' radios, essentially.
Yeah, they figured out that if they just played the exact right frequency into the mouthpiece of a payphone, they had direct administrative access to the network's control channel.
Just by whistling or playing a tone to make free global calls.
Exactly. The network was taking commands from the very same audio feed the caller was speaking into. So anyone who could mimic a specific sequence of tones basically became the network operator.
That's wild. So I'm guessing that's why SS7 was born?
Yeah, in 1975, the telecom industry began developing Signaling System 7 to shut that down completely. It was eventually adopted as an international standard in 1988, I believe.
Okay.
And it solved the whole blue box problem by introducing out-of-band signaling, or common channel signaling.
Okay, so they basically took the traffic cops out of the regular lanes and built a completely separate, dedicated VIP highway just for the network infrastructure to talk to itself.
You nailed it. The control signals began traveling on this dedicated, highly secure digital channel. The callers on the ends were completely locked out of this new highway.
So whistling a tone into your phone couldn't hijack a switch anymore?
Right, because the switch simply wasn't listening to the voice line for commands anymore.
Yeah.
It was only listening to the SS7 network.
Okay, so now we know why this VIP highway was built in the first place. But what I really want to know is, what exactly is driving on it? Because looking at these network architecture diagrams from the Telecom articles,
It's a lot to take in.
it's staggering. How does this system manage to hand off a connection from a mobile device to a fixed line network halfway across the world?
So the architecture relies on these specialized nodes communicating continuously. There are three primary types of nodes on the SS7 network.
Okay.
First, you have the SSPs, which are the service switching points.
And those are the endpoints.
Right, the endpoints that actually originate or terminate a call. Next are the STPs, the signal transfer points.
Got it.
You can think of these as the interconnected intersections or routers. They take the control signals and pass them along the most efficient path.
Okay, so endpoints and intersections. And the third?
The third are the SCPs, the service control points. These basically act as the dispatchers. They connect to massive databases to determine exactly how a call should be routed or, to set up special features.
Okay, so looking at this diagram for a global system for mobile network, a GSM, it breaks this whole journey down into distinct physical jumps. So you, the user, have a mobile device with a SIM card.
Yep.
That device talks wirelessly to a base transceiver station.
Which is just the local cell tower.
Right. And then that tower connects to a base station controller, which feeds into a mobile service switching center, which finally bridges out to the public switch telephone network.
Exactly. And at every single step of that journey, those SS7 nodes we just talked about are furiously exchanging data packets to make the connection happen without you even noticing a delay.
But I'm looking at the protocol definitions they use to communicate, and it honestly feels like a bowl of telecom alphabet soup.
Oh, it really does.
We've got MTP, SCCP, TUP, TCP. I mean, it's so easy to read this and just completely glaze over. So let's actually pull one of these apart. Instead of just listing acronyms, how does a protocol like, say, TCPAP actually function when I make a call?
That's a good one to pick. Let's use TCCAP as the perfect example. It stands for Transaction Capabilities Application Part.
Okay.
Imagine you go to a really busy restaurant. The waiter writes your order on a ticket with a specific number and hands it to the kitchen.
Right.
When the food is ready, the kitchen calls out that ticket number, so the waiter knows exactly which table gets the meal.
Oh, okay. So TCCAP does exactly this for the global phone network.
Yes, using transaction IDs. It allows nodes to handle multiple concurrent dialogues. So when a switch in New York needs to ask a database in London, hey, is this user allowed to roam on this network? It assigns a TCCAP transaction ID.
I see.
London might take a fraction of a second to look up the database and reply. TCCAP ensures that the reply matches the original question among the millions of other queries firing at the exact same time.
Wow. And then MTP, the message transfer part, it's basically just the delivery truck moving those restaurant tickets from point A to point B.
That's exactly it. MTP handles the physical and logical routing of those data packets. It makes sure the signal gets across the physical cables and routers without getting corrupted or lost.
Okay, so stripped of all the heavy jargon, this complex suite of protocols is simply the network's internal nervous system.
Yep.
It's constantly firing off signals, asking, where is this user? Are they roaming? Have they paid their bill? How do I route this data?
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a nervous system handling millions of queries a second. This incredibly rich data channel is what enables all those modern telephonic conveniences we completely take for granted today.
Like what specifically?
Things like call forwarding, automated voicemail, caller ID, toll-free numbers, SMS text messaging, mobile roaming. None of that is possible without the architecture of SS7 doing all the heavy lifting in the background.
It really is a phenomenally powerful system.
Yeah.
But looking at these security reports we brought in, I have a major issue with all of this.
Yeah. Here we go.
We are talking about a protocol that was engineered in 1975. You're looking at these documents from telecommunication giants. These are companies handling critical global infrastructure. And they built this entire VIP highway with a security mindset that just seems unbelievably naive by today's standards. They essentially relied on the honor system.
Well, you have to remember, the mindset of the 1970s telecom industry was entirely different. They developed this protocol way before digital encryption and authentication were widely adopted.
Sure.
It was engineered as a closed system. The only entities physically capable of plugging into the SS7 network back then were state-owned telecom monopolies or massive national phone companies.
Wait, so they assumed that just because it was hard to physically plug a cable into their network, they didn't need to secure the data traveling inside it?
That was the foundational assumption, yeah. The operators inherently trusted each other. So if a switch in France sent a message to a database in Canada saying, route this call to me, the Canadian system just assumed the request was legitimate.
Because only a trusted peer could possibly be sending that message in the first place.
Exactly.
So it's like building a massive, sprawling, gated community. The builders decide to put this heavy iron gate at the front entrance. But because they assume only the good guys will ever have the gate code, they decide not to put locks on any of the individual houses inside.
That is a perfect analogy.
They just don't lock the front doors, the windows, the safes. Nothing.
Nothing. The internal network has no robust authentication. The data is fundamentally unencrypted. It's just traveling in plain text.
So if anyone ever manages to get their hands on a gate code, they can just walk right into anyone's living room. And looking at these modern exploits in our sources, the front gate isn't just breached. It seems to have been left wide open.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is that the assumption that only trusted state actors or massive monopolies would have access, that is completely dead.
Oh, totally.
Today, government agencies and sophisticated malicious actors can easily gain entry. Even worse, someone with malicious intent can simply download an SS7 software development kit, an SDK, or they can lease access from a shady telecom operator on the other side of the planet.
And they interface directly with the network.
Yes, and because there are no locks on the doors inside, once they're in, they have unrestricted access to all the information flowing across it.
Okay, let's move from the theoretical flaws of this network to the actual real-world exploits that are detailed in our sources. How is this neighborhood with no locks being robbed right now? Like, what are the tools actually being used?
So the primary method involves devices known as SS7 probes or IMSI catchers.
Okay.
These are physical or logical systems capable of extracting information from the network by monitoring the bearer channels. And a lot of times this is done entirely legally by governments for surveillance.
Right, a lawful interception system.
Yeah, they routinely route calls and data to government-approved reception centers. The sources point to frameworks like the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, RIPA in the UK, or the SORM system used in Russia, which legally mandate this kind of access for law enforcement.
Okay, so regulated surveillance is one thing, but the illegal exploitation is what really stands out in these technical documents.
Oh, absolutely.
There is this media report from 2014 highlighted in the sources, and it just completely blew the lid off this protocol vulnerability. It revealed that anyone with access to SS7 could track the physical movement of a cell phone user anywhere in the world, with a success rate of about 70%. And the terrifying part is they didn't need to hack the phone's GPS or install malware or anything.
No, they didn't have to touch the device at all. They just leveraged the normal everyday functionality of the network. See, SS7 relies on two massive databases for every mobile user.
Okay.
The first is the Home Location Register, or HLR, which is basically your permanent address book with your carrier. And the second is the Visitor Location Register, the VLR.
And what does that do?
It acts like a hotel guest book, telling the network which specific cell tower you are currently standing near.
Okay, so how does the hacker track you without touching your phone?
The hacker uses their illicit SS7 access to send a standard protocol command, something like a provide subscriber info or anytime interrogation message directly to your carrier's HLR.
Oh, wow.
And because the system lacks authentication, your carrier's database just assumes this is a legitimate request from a roaming partner network. It dutifully checks the hotel guest book, the VLR, and replies to the hacker with your exact cell tower location.
The network literally betrays your location simply because it was programmed to be polite and answer any question it receives.
Exactly.
But the attacks get far more invasive than just location tracking. Here's where it gets really interesting. In May of 2017, the German telecom company O2 Telefonica confirmed a massive attack utilizing SS7 vulnerabilities that went directly after users' finances.
Yes, this is the nightmare scenario for SS7 exploitation.
Yeah.
Hackers didn't just track locations, they used the network to drain bank accounts.
Unbelievable.
They targeted the two-factor authentication, the 2FA, that banks rely on. We all know the process, right? You log in and the bank texts you a 6-digit code to verify your identity.
Right, the code that is fundamentally designed to be the ultimate failsafe. If someone has your password, they still can't get in without the physical phone in your hand.
Exactly. But the hackers managed to get the victim's bank login details beforehand, likely through, like, phishing or a previous data breach. So they had the usernames and the passwords.
Okay.
But they still needed that SMS code to actually authorize the transfer of funds. To get it, they didn't hack the bank, and they didn't hack the victim's phone. They exploited SS7.
Wait, so how do you steal a text message out of thin air?
By spoofing a command called update location.
Okay.
The hacker sends a message through the SS7 network to the victim's home location register. The message essentially says, "Hello, this specific user has just traveled abroad and is now roaming on my foreign network. Please forward all their incoming calls and SMS messages to my routing address."
And because there are no locks on the doors, the HLR just accepts the update.
It just accepts it. It overwrites the victim's actual location with the hacker's fake location.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so a few moments later, the hacker triggers the bank transfer. The bank automatically generates the two-factor authentication code and sends it via SMS. The message hits the telecom network, the network checks the HLR for the user's location, sees the newly updated fraudulent routing address,
and delivers the SMS code straight into the hacker's system.
Exactly. The victim's actual phone never even buzzes, and the bank account is drained.
That is terrifying. The security measure itself became the weapon because the highway it traveled on was fundamentally compromised.
Yep.
But reading this, I'm genuinely confused about something. When I make a call on my mobile phone, I often see a little padlock icon indicating the connection is secure, right? We are told modern cellular networks are encrypted, are they not?
Well, they are, but only partially. The connection between your specific physical phone and the local cell tower is encrypted. On a GSM network, this is called over-the-air encryption. So if someone parks a van outside your house with a radio antenna, they cannot easily pull your voice out of the airwaves.
But the airwaves aren't the whole journey?
Exactly. Once your signal hits the cell tower, it descends into the backbone of the network, the SS7 infrastructure. And remember, SS7 is the overarching brain of the system.
Right.
So a hacker who has gained access to SS7 can simply query the network and request a temporary decryption key for your specific call. The network, believing the request is legitimate for routing or lawful interception purposes, will just hand over the key.
Just hands it over.
Yeah, allowing the attacker to decrypt the captured audio later.
And what about SMS text messages? Like the two-factor codes?
SMS messages are sent completely unencrypted over the SS7 network. They travel as a plain text payload inside the signaling channels.
Are you serious?
Completely plain text. Anyone monitoring that specific route on the internal network can read the contents as easily as reading a postcard.
So we have a global infrastructure designed in 1975 for an era of trusted state-owned monopolies. It relies on an honor system that is actively being exploited for location tracking, call interception, and sophisticated bank fraud.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak.
The obvious question sitting in front of us is, why on earth hasn't the telecom industry just ripped this protocol out and replaced it with something secure?
This raises an important question, right? But the sheer scale of the problem makes it nearly impossible. SS7 is simply too intrinsic to the global telecommunications grid. It is the absolute foundation of international interoperability.
Meaning you can't just flip a switch.
Exactly. You cannot turn it off without instantly breaking global communication.
But wait, we aren't using 1970s phones anymore. We've upgraded through 3G, 4G, and now we're on ultra-modern 5G networks. Haven't we built new protocols for those?
We have. 4G networks introduced a newer protocol called Diameter, and 5G utilizes HTTP2-based signaling, which, incorporates much better encryption and authentication natively.
Okay, so that's good news.
It is, but the problem is backward compatibility. When a 5G user in Tokyo sends an SMS to a user on a legacy 3G network in a developing nation, the modern protocols eventually have to translate that data down into SS7 to make the final handoff.
Oh, I see.
Because the telecom ecosystem is global, the weakest link dictates the security of the whole chain.
So SS7 is just sitting there beneath the cutting-edge technology, too big to fail and too embedded to rip out.
Pretty much. So instead of a fundamental fix, the industry relies on continuous band-aids. Telecom providers deploy firewalls specifically for the SS7 network. They actively monitor the traffic for threats, looking for unusual routing requests.
Like an update location command coming from a country the user has never visited.
Right, exactly.
But the sources are explicit that monitoring does not prevent passive exploitation. It is just a massive game of whack-a-mole played on a system that is fundamentally insecure by its very design.
Right, because a firewall can block known bad behavior. But when the protocol itself dictates that nodes must implicitly trust each other to function, sophisticated attackers will always find a way to make their malicious requests look like standard, necessary routing traffic.
Which brings us to the takeaways for today's deep dive. We look at a stack of alarming sources like this, and the goal is always to find the actionable advice. SS7 was a brilliant, necessary solution to the chaotic hacking problems of its time. It paved that VIP highway that gave us global roaming and instant messaging. But today, it has evolved into the Achilles heel of global privacy. Because the telecom giants cannot easily untangle it from the grid, the responsibility for securing your data falls entirely on you.
Yeah, and the consensus from the technical community is stark here. Given the underlying architecture of the SS7 network, The only way to truly protect yourself from interception is to stop relying on standard phone lines and carrier-based SMS for sensitive information.
Right. So if you are sending a password, a financial detail, or having a private conversation, you have to avoid the traditional green bubble text messages and standard voice dialers. Use encrypted IP-based applications instead.
Services like iMessage, WhatsApp, Telegram, or Signal, they route your communication over the internet protocol. They bypass the legacy SS7 control channels entirely.
Which is key.
Very key. And more importantly, they provide end-to-end encryption. The data is scrambled on your device and only unscrambled on the recipient's device. It does not rely on the telecom operator's outdated trust model to keep the payload secure.
It is a wild realization, honestly. The infrastructure we carry in our pockets, the networks we trust to run our lives, are built on foundations poured 50 years ago that are slowly crumbling under the weight of modern digital reality.
It really is, and it leaves a lingering thought to consider, right? If a deeply flawed, inherently trusting protocol from 1975 is still facilitating the ultra-modern 5G networks of today simply because it became too big to replace, take a look at the cutting-edge technology we are rushing to deploy right now.
Yeah.
As we build massive AI data centers, smart city power grids, and the sprawling Internet of Things. What systems are we hastily coding today that will become the unfixable, vulnerable legacy infrastructure of the year 2070?
Wow, we might just be building another gated community without any locks on the doors. Well, next time you step off a plane and your phone connects like magic, just remember the invisible, crowded highway your data is riding on.